I knew he would have died otherwise, but it still hurt me to see him in pain. In any event, he'll recover eventually. So long as we leave him here alone, he should be fine. Yamazaki sighed. So what you're saying is that there isn't anything you could do for him? I'd like to, but I am a human doctor. I am not a veterinarian. Cannot heal your puppies from silver bullet death. He was right. Without someone who knew how Furies really worked, we were just fumbling in the dark. Although he's got a pretty good idea. Compared to any other doctor in the entire world, he's got a pretty good idea. Kodo might know something, though. My daddy? My daddy, that's right! Of course. Daddy has been doing research on the Furies. He might have left some notes or something at our house. He certainly might have. It's just on the edge of Edo, if I recall correctly. Maybe you'll find something useful. Alright, let's go back home. It's only been like 2 years. Then I'll be going with you. I blinked. Are you sure that's alright? I was ordered to guard Okita and you. Hijikata was very clear. I would have preferred that Yamazaki stay behind to guard Okita, but... You can't be too careful, Chizuru. Take Yamazaki with you if he's willing. I'll stay here with Okita until you come back. Other people might be like, experts on Furies. Matsumoto at this point is an expert on Okita. He probably knows his body better than this gal's gonna. In the end, I decided to take Dr. Matsumoto up on his offer. Yamazaki and I left the following morning, promising to return as soon as possible. We'll be right back, I promise. Nothing bad's gonna happen. So, this is your house? Yup. I hadn't seen it in years, but I didn't have time to be nostalgic. Nerves made me tense and jumpy. Excuse me, would we even find anything? The air inside was dusty and stale. It doesn't look like anyone's been here lately. Then my father hadn't returned. I felt both disappointment and relief well up within me. I know where we would have kept his research data, but let's start with his desk. Right. I don't think this is going to come up with a whole lot. I'm assuming other people have probably been here first. We spent the better part of the several hours looking through every corner of the house for anything about Furies, but... The price of being a Fury is life itself. What we did find was hardly good news. What do you mean? I turned to look at the notes Yamazaki was reading. The water of life revitalizes the body. But there's a limit to the human body's healing power. A limit? It looks like the limit isn't set in stone. Probably depends on the individual. But still... His face was pale. We made a horrible mistake. From what it says here, using the powers of the Fury uses up your, I guess you could say it uses up your future. You mean... I swallowed. Eventually they'll use it up? Just using up your life force. Yamazaki closed his eyes. Yeah. They use up in a few minutes what would take a normal human years to use. Oh no! Then how long did Okita have? When he'd chosen to drink the water of life, he'd signed away his future. Oh no. I didn't think his decision had been wrong. As a Fury, he'd been able to save people who would otherwise have surely died. But Okita... Calm down, Yukimura. We need to read this. We barely know anything about the Furies. How long did it take us to figure out Okita wasn't healing because of the silver bullets? Your father's notes might help us prevent things like that. Yeah, you're right. If we're going to save Okita, we need as much information as we could find, no matter how unpleasant it was. Anyone who became a Fury gained incredible powers, but those powers would put a great strain on their body. And it's that strain that caused the Furies to go insane when they smell blood. If they get the bloodlust, it gets even worse. They'll have episodes more frequently, and eventually the desire for blood will drive them insane. The more we found, the lower our spirits fell, until at last we uncovered something that gave us hope. There's a way to suppress the Fury's thirst for blood. Yay! There's a key. What? Yep. One of the many reams of notes my father had left behind detailed a medicine that could suppress the bloodlust. Do you think you can make it? Yeah, I can make it. Before I left, I used to help my father with his work. I should be able to make it using ingredients he left behind here. That's really easy. Yamazaki let out a breath he probably hadn't realized he'd been holding. Alright, if I can do anything to help, let me know. Thank you. Together, Yamazaki and I were able to prepare several doses of the medicine. Unfortunately, we hadn't learned anything about how we might heal Okida's wounds. We win some, we lose some. Guess we got okay. We got off just fine. It's getting pretty late. Oh, it's getting pretty late. By the time we left the house, the sunset had already dyed the sky blood red. Still, we had the medicine, so that was something at least. We should be back before it gets dark. Come on. He'd only taken a single step when it happened. A shadow appeared from nowhere, slamming into Yamazaki, knocking him to the ground. Yamazaki! I ran towards him, but as the shadow turned to face me, I froze in my tracks. What the hell? What are you doing here? I came to visit my darling sister. What other reason could I have? Kaoru! Why you run into people? Like, seriously, that's just weird. Just like, body checking my guy. How come Ninja Man couldn't figure that one out? Well, without saying, I couldn't trust him. I dropped into a defensive posture, and Kaoru pantomimed a expression of exaggerated sadness and surprise. Something wrong? Are you mad that I hit him? He gestured at Yamazaki, lying still on the ground. It's not very nice to just punch someone out of nowhere. He shrugged. I just wanted a little time alone with my dear sister. Something tells me he just wouldn't understand, even if I asked him politely. He was right, there was no way Yamazaki would have done anything Kaoru asked him to, but still. I thought it might make you sad if I killed him, so I just put the young man to sleep for a bit. Was I bad? Should I have killed him instead? He tilted his head, a strange smile twisting his lips. It's bad to hit people, but it's worse to kill them. And the world's just a rosy place, isn't it? How dare I sully it? He chuckled to himself. Oh, by the way, how's your boyfriend Okita doing? Is he dead yet? Stop it. Kaoru's eyebrows shot up as his grin widened. Oh, I'm only kidding. Calm down. After all, he's a Fury. He wouldn't die that easily, although, considering how much pain he's in, I'll bet he wishes he was dead. Kaoru. The angrier I got, the wider his grin stretched. Pretty soon, poor little Okita's gonna turn into a monster. All he'll want to do is drink blood. It's not true. It's not friggin' true. We had the medicine. With that, we could control his bloodlust. Okita wouldn't become a monster. Oh, been at Old Man's Kodo's notes, have you? Did you find that medicine of his? My heart fell. Of course you did. Excellent work. You should know this stuff only works for a short time and it can't suppress bloodlust forever. That's what I figured. It has some kind of, what's that called? Debilitating after effects or whatever. Whatever it is. When it doesn't work successively the same amount every time. Diminishing effect. Diminishing returns. That's what it is. I started to cry out, but I bit my lip to hold it in. If his gunshot wounds don't heal soon, he'll run out of life. Just like a video game. Just like a video game. And once that happens, it's bye-bye, Okita. It's not gonna happen. Oh, he might still look like Okita, but there won't be anything of him left in there. He threw back his head and laughed. I didn't know what to think. There was no reason to trust him, but if he was telling the truth... Okita? I wanted to believe he'd be alright, but if I was honest with myself, I had no reason to think he would be, apart from hope. Would you like to know how to save Okita? What? But my eyes go wide. You just need to give him some demon blood. Human blood won't do anything for them, but ours is different. There's the catch. There's the catch. And remember, quality, not quantity. Half-breeds won't do much for him, but the blood of a pure-blood demon... Then that meant... If I give him my blood, that'll help him recover. Exactly. He nodded, oddly satisfied. You and I don't get the bloodlust like those creatures, but our injuries heal just as fast. If you give your blood to him, you can share that ability. He'll heal faster and he won't go crazy over blood. That's what you're saying? Well, you're more perceptive than I thought. Yep. Gunshot wounds will heal, and Okita will keep his mind. I'd call that a win-win, wouldn't you? A win for Kaoru as well, who enjoys seeing me suffer, so he can keep, like, doing bullshit like shooting my boyfriend, and then me having to bleed out to heal him. It's a win-win-win. Yes, but... It sounded too good to be true. Would it really be that easy? Telling the truth? Kaoru looked shocked. You would doubt your own brother? After all he'd done, I could hardly trust him. Well, it's your choice. You can believe me or not, it's up to you. Oh, I guess he look you like a fool, and that's enough for me. I'll just leave before he wakes up. With one last satisfied grin, Kaoru turned and walked away. I watched his back and thought of 1,000 different things to yell after him, but said none of them. Motherfucker. You're poop. You're a big poop. I don't like you. A million things in my mind. I'm going to tell you all of them. How much of a butt you are. Then at last, after he'd finally disappeared. And thank you for the blood tip. And go die. Go fall off a cliff. You alright? Yamazaki clambered to his feet immediately, then wavered for a moment, blinking. Yeah, I'm fine. Can you tell me what just happened? Sure. Still don't know why you needed to get punched. You're not a very talkative person anyway. Probably. Kaoru had been the one that hit him, so that he could talk to me alone. I laid out what Kaoru had told me about the Furies and how it seemed to be too good to be true. At a question from Yamazaki, I reassured him that Kaoru hadn't hurt me, and he seemed to relax a little. Yeah, poor Yamazaki, was, like, told to defend me and then couldn't, because demons? That's gotta be a blow to his ego. Once Yamazaki felt steady, we headed back to Okita and Dr. Matsumoto. You too took your time. He smiled as we stepped through the door, but his face was creased with worry. And Yamazaki, you seem to have developed a rather large bump on your head. Sorry. Dr. Matsumoto frowned and proceeded to examine Yamazaki's injury. Is it bad? Just a knot. You'll be fine. Just rest. Sleep it off, dude. He instructed Yamazaki to go to sleep and shoot him out of the room. Yamazaki didn't argue. He hadn't said anything, but from the look of the bruise, it must have hurt quite a bit. So, did you find any more of Koto's research? I recounted what we'd found at my old house, both the good and the bad. I explained how Yamazaki had been hurt and what Kaoru had told me about the Furies. I don't think he was lying, but I do wonder how much we can trust him. He harumphed and furrowed his brow in thought. Well, at least we've got the medicine now, so I suppose it wasn't all bad news. Yeah, it wasn't all bad. It was fine. He looked up at me and smiled. Well then, can I go home now? Of course, thanks for staying for so long. You've got to be tired. Go to sleep early tonight, alright? I will. I'll be fine. Everything will be cool. We exchanged a few more goodbyes, and then he was gone. Even though I promised Dr. Matsumoto I would, I hardly felt like going to sleep. Okita! His fury healing was using up his life, even as it kept him alive. Couldn't stand it. I felt like I was just watching him die. Welcome back, Chizuru. Ah! I turned to see him sitting up, grinning at me. Okita, you're supposed to be resting. He shrugged. I heard you guys talking about me. Had to see if you were saying anything bad, you know? What? He was avoiding the subject, as he always did. There was something else. Okita, were you? I felt my stomach tighten up. Were you listening to everything we said? He smiled. You know, if I hadn't drank the water of life, I probably would have died that day. Okita. Even if I hadn't died then, the tuberculosis would have killed me eventually. Finally, we're getting to that point. His eyes were calm. So what if a Fury's lifespan is shorter? It's still longer than what I would have got. The way I see it, I'm lucky to be alive right now. Hey, if he keeps finding one weird trick to extend his life over and over, he'll just eventually be immortal. So, it's all good. Tuberculosis, superseded by, like, demonification, superseded by what next? Pure love, perhaps? Superseded by becoming an astronaut and going to space and finding moon creatures. Could go on. And he'll just live forever in space, doing space adventures in the sequel.